Welcome in everyone to another edition of the Bully the Board meeting. 3 guys, 4 teams left, baby. It is championship weekend. It's gonna be a doozy, baby. You know the drill. We got a lot to break down. Let's get into it.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today, not today.
I'm wondering if we should even, do this episode because according to many people online, the Super Bowl matchup has been foretold for weeks now.
Oh, yes.
It's gonna be the
Yeah.
Ravens and it's gonna be the Niners because the call was
It's the last 3 logos.
weeks ago, right? Yeah.
How come no one's
this
pulling
was-
up the 4th logo and the 5th logo and the 6th logo? Wait,
Right.
Yeah, why stop at 3?
What about those logos?
what about those? Interesting. They didn't have colors back those days.
Yeah, in jest, obviously. Welcome in everyone. Bully the Board, Kevin, Seth, and Steve with you as always. We got a lot to get into and break down for the championship weekend. 4 teams left. It's going to be exciting. Hope you guys stick around for it all. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you can. We're gonna be rolling through this thing through Super Bowl and shortly thereafter. We do have a couple of interviews planned as well in the near future with some people deep into the analytics world, sports fans, you name it. So got some good exciting content. So stick around, give us a subscribe for that reason at least.
Yeah,
because I think you will find some value in those things coming up. So, all right, boys, 4 teams left. 4 teams left. Is anyone surprised with how things played out in the divisional round? Or is this the 4 best remaining teams? What do you guys think, Seth?
Man, I had those tickets for Tampa Bay, and I ended up going down with the ship. BetMGM, they did some fuck shit on me. They pulled my my offers. They were like $250 each, and they pulled those offers after San Francisco ended up winning, which. Whoo, that was so close.
Mm-hmm.
And then they right before kickoff, they put them back up for about 10 minutes, and they offered me like $160 for each, which was basically a $60 profit. So at that point I just had to let it run.
You had to let it ride. Yep.
Yeah, because it's just it was just $60 is just not that great of an ROI. I don't know. The Lions still perplex me. Like this team is like literally dodging bullets. So they literally might be the one no one's talking about because like on the box score of every single one of these games, they should have lost. They gave up over 400 yards to Tampa Bay. Somehow Todd Bowles is like, nah, I'm good. I don't even want to try to win this game. Like it's just like it's just perplexing. Like I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be here. They are not dominating teams. And
one of these is not like the other. We'll say that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Kansas City's still shaky as well, but I don't. In some ways, I guess I'm not surprised, but we'll talk about the matchups later. But yeah, in some ways, we're gonna get some really good games too.
Yeah. What do you say, Steve?
Yeah. I shocked, disappointed. I would say disappointed in the Buffalo Bills. I mean, this was the time for you to get that thing off your back, get that monkey off the shoulder. You had the Chiefs at home. We sat here and said the Bills are getting healthy on defense. This is not a team the Chiefs want to get in a shootout with. And quite frankly, Kansas City's defense did okay. I mean, 24 points in the modern NFL, but it came down to that missed Tyler Bass kick. But you're looking at this team, and if you're Buffalo, that hurts. I mean, This is the one you had to have. This is one you should have had. You had every opportunity. Stephon Diggs had an opportunity to make a great play late.
Yeah.
You had Josh Allen missing a wide open receiver in the end zone earlier on that drive. This is just that's tough to swallow. And I think Buffalo really should have been the AFC Championship game. And then the Lions, I'm with you, Seth. I mean, that was a game I thought for sure Tampa Bay should have come away with, quite frankly. But give credit where all credit is due. Detroit. What I'm interested to seeing is the San Francisco talk, because once again, I don't know about you guys, but every time I kind of browse by ESPN or Fox, or wherever it may be, it's we have 3 great teams and Brock Purdy is ass. It's like whoa,
yeah, no,
Purdy just catching
slander.
Yeah, Yeah, for no reason. So I'm really interested to see those matchups, and but is San Francisco as untouchable at least as I thought they were? Because, and I'm not, as a Bears fan, I'm not ready to admit the Packers are great, but I mean the Packers should have won that game. You're talking about a missed field goal that could have at least extended the game and gave the Packers another chance to win that in overtime. I don't know if San Francisco is just not quite as good as we thought, or that's a one game thing. They're going to shake it off and demolish Detroit. So I'm excited to see this. And I will say one last thing. Again, as a Bears fan, I hate all the other NFC North foes, but I kind of listen. I have no bad blood towards Detroit right now. If they win the Super Bowl somehow, I wouldn't be upset. They're lovable losers.
Yeah. No, for real. It would be cool to see them win.
I got two things I want to get into. So first, point one about the Niners, to your point, Steve. So two things that appeared to have some real validity to them, and why maybe they didn't perform to some people's expectations. Number one, the weather element. We saw several times in replay continue to show that the weather was a factor specifically for Brock Purdy and his ability to grip the ball. He was shown a couple times on the broadcast, right? Like wiping off his hands mid play even to try to grip the ball. So that was something that was not ideal to be your elite self, if you will. And then I was surprised, and this kind of bared out and was supported by some earlier season injury news too. When Deebo Samuel went out, their ability to generate the efficiency that they're normally used to was night and day almost. He's their second best skill position player by all accounts, right? Behind Christian McCaffrey.
Second best? Oh, okay. That's fair. He's their number one wide receiver, but that's fair.
Yeah. So it was surprising to me that they lost a lot of from the eye test perspective, they lost a lot of creativity. There wasn't as much going on. Then they just lost a lot of efficiency from what they had put on the field prior to the short sample size when he was on the field. And this is kind of supported by earlier in the season when he was out. I think it was week 7, week 8 when Deebo was out. They lost both of those games. And you look back at some of the metrics that we track to success rate, EPA, etc. They all went down a few notches. So those two things in a nutshell, maybe some other confluence of factors, but those two things certainly had to play a role, right? So, should Green Bay have won? I don't know. Perhaps, maybe so, but maybe they weren't getting the full strength Niners, if you will, to begin with.
I'm confused. I'm perplexed by that, Kevin. Though it sounded like you just made the greatest argument for why we shouldn't be surprised that once Deebo went down, that they struggled. They struggled without him before, and here we are again without him, and they struggled. Like, to me, this is a pattern where Deebo's really good, and a lot of their efficiency comes with that offense. And when you lose a piece like that, that's tough, especially in game, because it's even harder to adjust on the fly. So I think, to me, that is an angle here for the divisional matchups, which is, are you going to have Deebo or not? Because we've seen that without him, even with when he's not in game injured, they don't necessarily have a great answer for not having him. Obviously, you have Ayuk. Obviously, you have McCaffrey. But there is a huge aspect of that offense that gets missed without him. But they won that game with I forget the guy's back. Is it Jennings? The backup? He made a couple of key plays in that game on that last drive. So I mean, this is a good team overall. I think their defense has definitely come back to earth, though. If you go back into the all 32 team offense and defense, you can see yes, they're still a good defense, but they're not, they're in that second tier, not the top tier defense. So it'll be interesting to see how much success the Lions have. We saw a similar, Green Bay team there in the Lions. Can they pull it off? By all accounts, the answer is maybe. It would be crazy to see the Lions go to the Super Bowl. I have to say that would be wild.
It would for sure.
And can I just say real quick? Go. The Lions have been winless this century. You know who they made it in front of to a conference championship game? Who they got there before this other team did? The Cowboys. So, I'm
Of
just saying,
course, yeah.
Hey, next year's our year, baby.
Yes, of course. All right. One other thing I wanted to get you guys' take on, and it's been kind of talked about in some circles a lot at this point now, but not necessarily game breakdown from this past weekend, but we talked about it last week on the podcast where when the Ravens and the Texans, there had already been, by the time we were recording last week's episode, some weird flukiness going on in the market with a couple of books, ESPN Bet in particular. They were hanging some weird lines earlier in the week, right? Like I got a -7 at one point. And I was like, I don't know what they're doing, but I got a 7.
I'll take it.
Twitter was blowing up. Like you could get like 5 figures down. They had Baltimore plus 10.5 at 9. And you could get
I mean -9, -10.5.
No, minus
Baltimore
-9.
-10.5. Oh yeah,
No,
yeah. It was 9.5
plus 110.
Okay,
yeah. It was -9.5 plus 110 and -10.5 plus 140. And that
and like major money, like not like $50, $100, like 10 grand,
5-6 figures. Yeah, created perhaps one of the largest ARB opportunities in the history of the space. So I was listening to the Bet the Process, Rufus and Jeff, most latest episode 2, and they were talking about this a little bit as well. There seems to be still some uncertainty as to why that actually happened. There's some theories.
Did they have any answers?
So the kind of the
risk.
three.
Can that be risk? That seems to be more risk on than risk off.
Right. So they, because the ESPN or Penn technically wasn't like responding to comments about it or questions rather, there's a couple of leading theories, and one is a risk off position, like they took some crazy action, like on a mattress mag level on the Texans, and was trying to reduce risk. But I think Jeff made the point. He's like, you could probably just get it. You could probably offer it at -9.5 at even money. Like, why'd you have to go to plus 110? And why'd you have to offer the -10.5 at 140? So there's some holes in that theory. The other one was they screwed up. There was some miscalculation. They don't know what they're doing. The risk team there is just, they thought they were trying to be smarter than everybody. Or this was an interesting tidbit that I thought, but also I think you could find a less expensive way to do this. It was a huge marketing kind of PR thing for them. They got on, I don't know how much, but they got a lot of people, as you could probably understand, to deposit money on their app for the first time, if not coming back again to specifically bet that. Yeah. So what they, in theory, was suggesting is that they were trying to, and in mass, identify bettors who are price sensitive, and AKA those who are trying to win, and then profiling them after that point and probably limiting them going forward.
Whoa. So I don't know where my tinfoil hat is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, can I put out door number 4?
All right, yeah.
ESPN's a market maker now, baby. They wanted to get the line. They wanted to get the handle 50-50, so they were just moving the line to. No, it is a perplexing question, and I remember one of our users reached out to us in the middle of the week, was asking. My hypothesis at that time was, I think maybe this is marketing, because it's just like doesn't make any sense at all. It would not be a risk. If you know anything about risk, and I don't run a book, but like this to me, I can't guarantee this, but I think there's a high probability that they ended up taking way more liability on those bets than they covered liability on the other side, because it was up for like days. This wasn't like an hour all you can eat. This was just like whatever, like do what you're gonna do. I don't know. I didn't end up taking advantage of it at all because of the exact. I mean, I don't want to. It wasn't necessarily that intelligent thing, but like I've been trying to not bet airs because it's just like all of the stories of just like they just pop you so quick, and it's like we already had our issues with DraftKings. ESPN is actually one of my DGen accounts. Like I have 2 real DGen accounts: ESPN from Barstool and then FanDuel. Where like I've just done so much stupid shit on that app throughout its life that like I'm pretty safe. Like they still give me, you know, pretty big free bets. Like I get like $100, $50 free bets like weekly.
Nice.
So like I'm not trying to shake, you know, rock the boat there. So I didn't end up touching any of the numbers, but like they were up like I think it was like Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like this was like mature market.
It was wild. Yeah. So I guess I bring that up, or wanted to get you guys' take on that too, because we often hear, oh, Vegas knows, like Vegas is this all powerful Wizard of Oz type of thing, right? And this doesn't happen every week. This is not like a weekly occurrence per se, especially on the most liquid market in the world, NFL sides. But mistakes happen all the time. These books are not some omniscient, super prescient entities. They're very beatable in multiple ways.
You talk about it all the time, Kevin. Like when we got limited at DraftKings, you're like, oh, I'm glad I'm a DraftKings stockholder. Like they're accurately identifying winners, which is like a big part of the retail business model, which is like the whole thing crumbles if people have an edge on your app because you're so exploitable, because you're copying. You don't actually know what the truth is at any one time. You're reliant on some market telling you that, and because you don't want to, you know, participate in it, like a huge part of your business model is getting winners off your app and like accurately identifying those people. Yeah. Or even if you're them, inaccurately identifying them, where you're willing to lump or identify somebody that's actually not a winner as a winner, because it's better for you to over identify than it is to under identify. So yeah, I don't know. I like that conspiracy though, that just like it's going to cost us like $1 million, but like we'll just in one fell swoop identify every sharp in the marketplace, or not everyone, but like probably like 95% of them. Perhaps. Anybody that bet over $500, like $1,000, is probably pretty safe to kick off your app.
Yeah. So one of the more fascinating kind of behind the scenes developments leading into this past weekend, I thought. So,
any conspiracies on your end, Steve?
No. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you would think, oh, Penn, they know what they were doing. This can't be a whatever, but maybe to your point, they do know what they're doing. But we've seen like this weird ESPN Bet stuff for a couple of weeks now, and nothing this egregious by any means, right? Where they're just kind of throwing off these really odd lines here or there, but then they go back and they fix them. But yeah, that's pretty wild. So and they cashed them, right? So it wasn't like they came back and said, no, that's Pal. You know,
no,
sorry.
These were up for days, not hours, not minutes.
Yeah.
Like this was like they knew that it was up, but it doesn't really meet the risk off criteria. They put more risk on, guaranteed. Yeah. Like there's no way they didn't end up taking more liability, in my opinion, on Baltimore if they were trying to offload risk on Houston.
Right.
Roll Tide.
Well, like we always say, the sports books are not your friends. So listen, you know, they're you definitely want to toe that line to Steph's point about, you know, not being flagged as a sharp. But listen, if you're trying to get your lick in and get out, don't feel bad about it.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean, it'll be something like it'll be interesting to see like this stuff happen again. But like, what's the angle? Like this doesn't it have to be a mistake?
You would think so.
Occam's razor would say, in my opinion, it would just say simplest explanation, they fucked up.
Or maybe they're 3D chess. Like maybe their handles are so much bigger than we're realizing because of the exposure on ESPN, and like they're in a world of their own. But like we know how big of a head start FanDuel has. Like handle is not like 60% of the total handle basically, or not necessarily the total handle, but number of bettors. So you can kind of, come to some approximation. So if FanDuel is not needing to do that, then it would be hard to believe that ESPN would. I mean, that's always the conversation. Like, and as we get to be exposed by, bigger and bigger syndicates and bigger and better sports bettors, this nuance, which is, and I think they talk a little bit about it in Interception, if I'm not mistaken, which is this idea though, if you think about the relative liquidity of a market making book, and those market making books are dictating the total, like the total handles number risk, right? Like, because it's like, whatever happens at a market making book is being propagated throughout the whole market. But like we know now with retail legalization, the retail market and the retail books have way larger handles. Like, so there's these smaller pools of liquidity that can technically be more easily manipulated that then get propagated into a much bigger liquidity pool. So it's like, how safe is that? Like, technically speaking, it's point being, it's ripe for manipulation, technically, because with $50,000, you can propagate an error through a $10 million market,
right?
Which is not normal. Any other market would, $50,000 would be a lot, but it wouldn't be. It would be a relative small drop in that total $10 million handle, but it's actually one of the things dictating the whole thing. So I don't know. So if you're smart enough out there, like, and you got enough money, like, you could definitely.
You could have had a nice weekend, for sure. You definitely had a nice weekend,
and probably any weekend you want if you have enough
That's
money.
True.
And
That's
here
true,
we are marketing for ESPN Bet, all part of their master plan.
That's fair. That is fair. Hey, I stand by. I think I found that Barstool had the best interface. I have to give them credit for that. I think they had the best interface.
Yeah. All right, we digress a little bit, but that was one of the like I said, one of the more unique kind of developments on the back end of things here.
That's a good question and a good observation. We'll have to see if that moves into the future.
Yeah, we'll see if any more information comes out from that whole debacle, if you will. So, okay, boys, there's only 4 teams left, though. There's only 4 teams left. So first up is going to be, let's talk about it. And we got a couple of more nuance and additional discussion points around this one in particular. But Ravens and Chiefs, AFC championship game. Our number says for this open at 3.5. So from a modeling standpoint, no edge, no value on either side right now. So this one, I don't know where you guys want to start or where you want to lead off of it, because there's a couple of points here. But I teased it at the beginning in part because of this discussion where, why even play this game? Why even play this game? Because, the prophecy's been foretold. It's going to be the Ravens who are going to come out of this game. So Seth, I'll lead you here in real quick, because there was some of our viewers or anyone listening to this might be familiar. I believe it started with Warren Sharp.
I believe that was the beginning of this.
Okay. So I believe it was Warren Sharp who tweeted out, like him and his team are known to do sometimes, this very headline grabbing tweet talking about the referee assignment for this game, and how the assignment, this particular assignment was alarming because it favored to a I guess what we're being led to believe, a statistically significant margin that would favor, I believe, the home team in this case. Am I correct?
No, the away team.
The away team. Okay, I had that flip. Sorry.
Team. So it would favor the Chiefs.
So this got eaten up pretty quickly by both the casuals and the analytic crowd. So I want to give you give a little nuance to the conversation here, Seth, because largely probably a bunch of BS.
Yeah. So this came out, and it's just like all the other trends. If you follow us, like these bigger brand name ones, we usually try to debunk, like, because they're just so egregious and so bullshit that, like, and quite frankly, if you actually have data like these guys, they do. Warren Sharp has a lot of data, and actually, shout out to Warren Sharp. Using some of his information, we made a lot of money. Like we've predicted using his data the last 3, almost 3, about to be 3 Super Bowl champs. And so, like, I mean, the guy knows football, like, and so I definitely want to make that point, but like, he definitely does things a little like wild sometimes, where he's knowingly like peppering the market with bullshit. And unfortunately, like, there's a huge appetite, I think, for that. And I think most of that comes from not understanding how, research works in general, but like how you would actually think about these things. So anyways, he basically proposed that the NFL like called in the closer to basically stack the deck in the Chiefs' favor. And he was insinuating that there's this huge effect that I think it's Sean. I forget his last name, but that
Smith, I
the head,
believe.
Sean
Yeah,
Smith,
Sean
the
Smith.
head referee here, like to a large effect, like favors the underdog team. So we're like, okay, well, we have a database, and in that database, it goes back 20 years, and we have every head referee for every game. So all right, let's go look at this. And so we did. And so that next slide that you have here, Kevin, this is the mean difference. So this is saying, okay, we're going to look at the margin of victory for home teams, and let's ask two questions. Let's ask, okay, well, what is the mean difference for this, refs, mean difference on margin of victory compared to, other refs? But also let's ask the question, how predictive is knowing the head referee on that outcome of margin of victory? And the answer is it's not at all. So you see that in the middle of that graph with the straight up and down line, that's basically telling you you're better off guessing. But to quantify this for anybody that's in the know of here, the adjusted R squared of this is 0.04 percent. So knowing who the referee is describes 0.04% of what was predicted and what actually happened. Meaning it's basically effectively zero. You're better off throwing up leaves in the sky and just saying, oh, this one landed up and it was, it's the Chiefs. You probably get closer doing it that way. But then there's another way you can ask this question, which is, okay, well, what's the probability of, of any one referee compared to another referee on them covering or not covering for the home team? And so if you do that analysis, you get something that actually is in the direction of what Warren Sharp was pointing out, which is if we compare to the head referee for the Super Bowl this year, which is Bill Vonovich, you actually see that the odds ratio, so the odds that the home team covers, is below 1. And what that means is that it's a lower probability that Sean Smith's crew versus Bill Vonovich's crew would have the home team cover, which would be in the direction of Kansas City. But the thing here is, if you look at the p-value, it is not statistically significant, right? So this is maybe an association that could be potentially there with many, many, many more data points. But with the data we have, and again, that's all available data, it's not an actually statistically significant effect. And you can see that if you look at the other referee that's reffing this weekend, he has, closer to 1, but it's the same null difference. There's no difference. That's how you would interpret this between these two crews compared to Bill Vonovich's crew. And by the way, I did this for every single referee. There's 85 unique head referees in that 20-year span, 23-year span. Guess what? None of them are statistically significant. Why do you think that is? Because the NFL is not in the business of rigging games and putting in the fix. If that was the case, those guys would get fired, right? The reality is you can't be a global brand that's fixing games, right? This is just not sustainable. It's just not how business works. So it's a bunch of fugazi. It's a bunch of BS. Again, Warren Sharp just clickbaiting out here, and there's no difference at all between these guys. There's no difference in Sean Smith and how he and his crew referee the games. And so I already know, I can hear the comments like, oh, when Kansas City wins, oh, they told you, we know. It's like, okay, well, that's just association. That's at best what these data show. There's an association and there's a directionality that, yes, it's a correlated with that. But this is the other thing no one's talking about. What if he just refereed a bunch of games where the home team lost? What if he didn't throw one flag? And the better team won, and the better team was the away team that in that sample of games. How do you actually know the effect is him like, it's a holding call? You don't know that. And that's why you measure. That's why you look at these different ways of measuring stuff like that. And I think it's a fugazi thing. So shout out Warren Sharp. Be better, man.
Yeah. All right. We got that out the way. So now let's dive into maybe what the people really care about.
Wait, can I say one thing real quick though?
Go.
So this is actually a really good point, because you're going to have two fan bases really competing for each other because they both can't be right. And I'm not talking about Ravens versus Chiefs. I'm talking about the referee conspiracy theory fan base versus the NFL Super Bowl
Felt
logo
great.
fan base, right? Because
Yeah,
either the Ravens or the Chiefs, right? Because they can't be both. You can't have both, right? So now the narcissist in me is going to say, oh, yeah, well, one of them's, oh, we know we were right the entire time. One of them is going to be quote unquote right, which is like whatever. But yeah, you know, this stuff is absolutely ridiculous. You got to take it just a little bit of time, just go a little bit below the superficial level, and you'll see how quickly all of this ravels apart. So
yeah. Well, the thing that pisses me off about this stuff is like, do you know how in depth he had to go to find this effect? Like, so to your point, he did go deep, but he went deep
yeah,
just to find something that then he can
selectively deep.
twist. Yeah, and he can twist and he can sell, and then it propagates this lack of understanding of what sports betting is. We see it day in and day out on TikTok and like a lot of the community we engage with. It's like there for every one person that actually is doing anything of meaning on the app, there's 100 people that are just touting these trends and these things that like aren't predictive at all, and professionals do not use them. They do not look there, but yet it's how the layman kind of gets introduced to what it is. And unfortunately, if they never evolve out of it, there's people like Warren Sharp that unfortunately like prey off of it almost. And it's like, oh shit, Aaron, yeah, Warren Sharp like knows shit. Like, yeah, give him a follow, give him $2,000 for his yearly picks. Like,
yeah.
And is that like, I get it, but at the same time, like, I don't know. So just do better, man.
Yeah.
Like it's, to me, it's manipulation.
It is, yeah. But there's people fighting the good fight too. Like I said, this got torn apart from multiple angles. At least on Twitter. From a lot of the analytics crowds and people who actually I think
that's where the intellectuals live
deeper.
over on Twitter.
Yeah.
They don't. We don't get as many of those on TikTok.
It's a shame. But all right, let's talk about the matchup though a little more specifically here. So, yeah, Steve, what I'm fascinated by this one for a couple of reasons. So, all indications right now, you have Mark Andrews coming back. I think he practiced either in full or he's trending in the right direction as of today, Wednesday, when we're recording this. So that's good. Feather in the cap for Baltimore, right? Mahomes again on the road as an underdog. Interesting. I mean, for the second time, in his career, I believe, not counting Super Bowls again. And you have a Chiefs team, generally speaking, again, we talked about it last week too, or you guys did at least, where relative to his past years and to the Mahomesian years, underperforming, underachieving, right? So how, like, can Mahomes pull off the upset again? The only reason why this is so close, technically speaking, you can see it here, career EPA above average. Like, Mahomes is effectively twice as twice as good as Lamar is, which is certifiably insane. So I don't know. What's your breakdown of this one?
Yeah, this is going to be a really great matchup, right? And we talked about that last week, where it's like, you had kind of almost a similar thing in a sense of you had a better offense in the opposition for the Chiefs, meaning Buffalo last week, Ravens this week in terms of moving their offensive EPA. And then you had similar echo rates, success rates, et cetera. And then Mahomes was going to be that difference. Now, the key difference this week versus last week was Kansas City had the better team defense compared to what the Ravens are putting up this week. So this truly will have to be Mahomes the magician, right? Because not only are you trying to overcome a team with a statistically better offense, but also a statistically better defense, right? So there is no evening out of that. And I'm surprised. I'm really going to be looking forward to seeing this game. I mean, by no means do I expect a blowout one way or the other. I never rule Mahomes out because we've seen him time and time do these things. But again, I think this is going to be the hill where it might just be a little too much for KC to overcome. And you see that in the model prediction of -4 there for the Ravens. So I'm excited for this game. I think Mahomes will give us a great effort. I think you see some receivers step up, Kelsey step up. But at the end of the day, I think it's a little too much. But I'm stoked to watch this game.
Yeah, another element too I forgot to mention real quick, Seth. I believe one of the starting guards, Tooney or Thuney, I forget his name, for Chiefs, is also on track to be out. Starting guard as well. So offensive line is going to be banged up for him. Yeah, even better. So I don't know, Seth. Go ahead.
I want to go back to COVID. Shout out. I want to go back to the Super Bowl. I want to go back to Tampa Bay and Kansas City when Patrick Mahomes was a dog. Oh my God, Patrick Mahomes, you're getting plus 2.5. And what happened? That defense ate him up all day. I mean, even if we go back to the Bills, and I it's funny that we last week, Steve, we said that the Bills are getting healthy on defense. We couldn't have been more wrong. Like they had literally only three linebackers in that game that they were able to bring. I mean, they had a number of injuries specifically on defense, and given all of that, that game was easily could have been won by the Bills. I mean, in fact, they were so in control that they were actively, what it felt like actively, letting the clock go down so that they would have the ball effectively last. Unfortunately, they stalled just a little bit on a couple key plays and they ended up having to kick it, and they didn't make the kick there. But it's hard for me, again, in what we've seen with the Chiefs, to take away that this is actually going to be capable. It just seems like they keep rabbit out of the hatting a team that's injured on defense. They did it with week one. They did it then against the Bills. They're not going to be able to do that against this defense.
Against the Dolphins?
Yes, the Dolphins in week one, when they kicked 4 field goals in the red zone, 4 out of 5. And the fifth one would have been a conversion or a fourth down that they would have kicked, but they got a passing, rough for the passing. So like, I just think that this is when we actually see the party ends, like the defense. But to your point, you say all of that, and we didn't have a model in these days, and we weren't betting, but like this is probably what every single person said every year betting against Tom Brady. Like, no, this is, and then somehow the guy just like terminates. I just don't know if this is the year, just because the one thing that he doesn't have that he's always had is this crazy great offense, and we know that he doesn't have that, and they're going against one of the best defenses. So I struggle. And then the other big piece is, unfortunately, the Texans played the trump card that Kansas City was praying they could play, which is, we'll just blitz the hell out of Lamar. Well, They did. Houston did. They blitzed 72% of plays, and they were like, oh, we know how to, like, we actually have a game plan for this in the second half, and it worked beautifully. So if you're the Ravens and you're the Chiefs, like, what are you going to do to actually stop that offense? Because yes, they do have a better defense they have in years past, but I don't see the game plan other than, to your point, which is Mahomes magic. Like, that's literally it. And how do you quantify that? You can't, but that's the only thing making this 4 points. Like, it's just Mahomes. It's just Mahomes magic.
I mean, you can attempt to quantify it again with his career EPA,
and we do, but like
it's worth something.
Like,
but yeah, relative to I we hear your point. Yeah, relative to everything else, like that's I think that's, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but from a modeling standpoint, I think, and the market standpoint, frankly, as well too. Like, I think that's why this number is what it is at this point. Like, the team wise, Ravens. Quarterback wise, Chiefs. And the net difference between those two is, on average, probably about 4 or 5 points, right? So,
and it sucks because, like, I think the Ravens probably win this game by 14. Like, I think they win handily in the games that they win. But unfortunately, you just can't. You're never going to get there analytically. That's a dumb mental model, but yeah, I don't know. I would put it this way. I have 2 futures tickets. I'm cashing one of them out. Like, I'm not
sure. Okay. Well, that's a good lead in, though, because we did want to have a discussion about that. And
or you guys tell me. That's what I'm leaning.
Like, play.
I can tell you all that, but like, I will be so pissed if I don't lock up, $567 off of a $200 investment. Like, that's easy. That's easy, good money. Like, that's the double dip method working in your favor.
Right.
And you still have the upside of the 1800. You know what I mean? Like, you still have let that thing ride. So it's like, Now, if they win, obviously you feel, bad because you just cashed out a huge ticket, but
Yeah, no,
Still got,
no,
still got one
so
to go though. Yeah.
or I've thought
okay.
about this strategy though. Or do you just bet, $500 as Kansas City as a dog? How many times are you going to get to do that?
Yeah, rarely. But I mean, would you like independently of cashing one out or cashing one out and using the
No.
proceeds?
Don't cash it out. Don't cash it out and bet money line because you can get a plus 150, I think it is. So you can
Yeah,
get
I was just looking now. Highest you can get if you have Superbook plus 180. Caesars has plus 170.
see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if I win that, I win, I win what, $600-700 almost. No, I win more than that. I don't know exactly what it is, but you win more than you win cashing it out, right? If I lose, I'm down 500, but now I only have one other bet I have to hedge, and I have an upside of what is this, 3,600, 3,800.
Yeah.
So, I have some, I can hedge. I think I can end up locking up more profit with that strategy.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well, I think that the hard part too is going to be, the unknown of what that cash out value is going to be if the Ravens win, but before they play in the Super Bowl, right? Because to
I
your
think at
point,
that point,
hypothetically, go ahead.
I was just gonna say at that point to what you're saying is like I think you have to end up just betting money line the other team. Like at that point, your strategy is not going to be cashing out; it's just going to be betting money line opposite.
Yeah,
right. But I'm saying like, so if you bet the Chiefs money line going in here, right, instead of cashing out, and then after that, let's say the Ravens win, but the cash out value is $1,000 or whatever it may be, like, or is it they do some fuck shit and it's like
No, it's
$700?
Yeah, it's probably
No,
700.
Right. So and that's the big unknown, right? Because that would be the missing piece. Is like, okay, how do you truly lock a profit? But you'll never know that. So then you have to kind of play your hand here. And I'm with you, on this side. It is safer in terms of profit to just go ahead and hedge at this stage. I think I'm with you on that one.
Yeah,
I mean, in
'cause there's
true
some look
double
ahead
dip
lines.
methodology, like if you're not walking away with at least, let's see, if you're not walking away here with effectively at least 3x, we'll just call it 3x your money, then
Yeah, it's a
shame
little
on
bit
you.
under 3x. Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I think I just have to cash one of these out, which sucks. But I did this. This happened to me last year with the UConn. I had 2 tickets. It was ironically for plus
Yeah.
1,800, and I cashed one out, and I was like, God.
I
The
mean,
problem is like when you start forecasting things accurately, like when they win, you feel bad, even though you got profit.
Yeah.
I hear what you're
think
saying, but I mean, this is the point. This is the point of why we talk about this method and why
No.
so
Double dip Miami. I doubled up Miami. I was the only reason I was able to make money was because of the double dip. Because if I let one of them ride and it lost, but I was able to pay for both tickets. I mean, this is so true that DraftKings won't even let me make 2 tickets of any bet. If I bet it once, they will not let me bet any other ticket for any amount of money. So they don't like the double dip.
Well, good. We expect a full report of your total ROI at the next board meeting. So
okay,
be prepared. Be prepared to outline your strategy while you took it.
Yeah.
Could be on the spot.
Part of me wants to just let it ride. Like I think this is a really good spot, especially with the offensive line injury. I'm even more like the market's starting to buy. Like it's just perfect storm.
Okay,
except if it wasn't for Sean Smith or whatever that guy's name is.
So you got the logo. You have the logo colors on your side, though. You can't lose.
Oh yeah. I know. No one wants to talk about that either. Like they're like, this is blue, whatever. You're like, how? This is like teal. Like it could be like 20 different colors. If anything, it's more Miami Dolphins. Like, what are we talking about? Like, dude, where do these things get born, man?
Let's not. It's just wild, man. Okay, other half of the logo theory. The Niners got this one in the bag, right? It's all said and done. Niners and Lions, though, of course, NFC Championship game. Our number is basically the same as what the opener was at 7 in favor of the Niners. So again, staying away from a modeling standpoint for us. This one you mentioned it earlier in the talk, Seth, about the Lions in particular, like in the same vein as the Chiefs kind of being this, I won't say lucky team in a sense, but this feels like the end of the road for a team that, in my opinion, for different reasons, continues to punch up relative to its overall kind of talent and on-field kind of efficiency metrics. So, and no surprise that the market has been where it's at on this one. And yeah, I mean, because our model agrees to, like, I don't have a double dip on the Niners futures. I just have the one ticket at plus 1,000, and it's a very good. Yeah, it's a very good ticket. Obviously, at this point, I don't know what the cash out value is, but I am reluctant to take any action on the other side of this one because of how this game looks.
I don't blame you. The interesting thing about this one is the early market bought Lions. This was at 6.5. We didn't end up. Well, I won't bury the lead, but like, this was at 6.5, and it's 6.5 minus 110. Like, it was, there was technically a little bit of value. So I don't know what the market was thinking then. That seems wild to me. I just the Lions, and look, we talked about it. I hope they're the team of destiny. Like, I hope they defy all statistics and they win the Super Bowl. That would be pretty dope. Except I hope they lose to the Ravens. But I don't know. This game, and this is just so square because you're just like, yeah, the two favorites dominate. But like, I mean, I guess the 49ers showed some weakness last week. And the Lions have gone and beat good teams. We've seen that. So, I mean, there is that aspect of things. It just feels like, though, at any point, this 49ers offense is going to wake up. And I don't know that we should forecast what happened last week is going to happen this week. And I definitely don't think we should forecast what Green Bay did something to cause what happened last week. It was more them self-imposing, the weather, Debo going down. Like, it was kind of anything that could go wrong went wrong. And yet they still came out with the W. So we're not going to have weather this week. If Debo's not going to play, they at least know that, right? Or they're going to have a game plan. So it just feels like, what is the pathway here for the Lions?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Like I said, I definitely wouldn't be mad seeing the Lions go, but I really, the clock strikes midnight here for me on Detroit's chances, and it sucks to say, but that's football. Best team wins. Now, I will say this: what I don't understand, and I kind of said this earlier, what is up with the Purdy slander? Right? We're hearing all this stuff about, Purdy, this and that. It's not a good quarterback. There's 3 great quarterbacks, and there's Brock Purdy, blah blah blah. And I'm looking at the last game. And you say, okay, these guys aren't talking about, play-by-play stats. They're just kind of looking at the eye test, the box score. Okay, fine. Look at the box score. Purdy went, 23 for 39, 252 yards and a touchdown, right? And then we look at Mahomes' game against the Dolphins, opening round, right? Divisional round. Mahomes goes 23 for 41, 262, 1 touchdown. But you've never heard a single word of Mahomes slander this entire playoff run, right? And if you look at an actual EPA per play stat, who's the most productive quarterback in the league? It's Brock Purdy. What more do you want this man to do? I don't understand. I think it's a classic pundit overreaction. Get the headlines, get the clickbait, whatever. But I mean, let's not overthink this, right? If you're rooting for Detroit, you're taking Detroit for a purely emotional reason. Shout out to you, but maybe better place to put your money, but I get why you do it. But this whole concept that the 49ers are, or Brock Purdy at least, is what's holding this team back and they can't win and they can't do something because of him, that's ridiculous. And I think the market, and I'm glad the market, agrees to that extent. But I am with you, Seth. I'm very curious as to why it would go from a 6.5 to a 7, in favor of the Lions, right? So that's confusing to me.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well, and the only hypothesis I have is, if like one thing we don't do, and it's mostly because we don't think it's the best methodology, is we like this more stable 15-game sample. But I know a lot of people wait the last game, so they use like an exponential decay. And so I wonder, obviously, in this, like, what happens in these playoff runs, because by definition, for you to win the Super Bowl, you have to go on a run, right? You have to not lose, a consecutive number of games. does that weighting like overweight these playoff games and it, it makes a team look a little bit better than because that half point is so important. And I think at the 6.5, there was value for the 49ers. Like, and the market gobbled it up and ate it back up, and it's been 7, ever since. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me. That's my one, hypothesis of how it got there early. But I think the more mature money has definitely been riding any of those mistakes back to 7. The question for me is, I mean, we've always talked about like our numbers like San Francisco, they like Purdy, and we've gotten some pretty high spreads. But I have to say, like week after week after week, when we make a number for the 49ers, the market seems to just make the number even higher than we do. Like, we made it 10 last week. That spread closed at 10.5. Like just week after week, like the real mature money, like their models love Purdy. So I'm with you, dude. I think it's just a brand name thing. It's just like, yo, your K-Swiss ain't cool. I got Nikes. He's a 7th round pick, and people can't get over that because it fits this narrative that the round you go in is somehow predictive to how you're going to play, which we talk about all the time. The NFL is not predictive. It's just not. The best models in the world that create a marketplace can only predict about 19% of what's going on. So do you think Stephen A. Smith has a chance? No, he doesn't. You think Skip Bayless actually has a chance to tell you something intelligent that actually means anything? Not really. You know what I mean? Like that you have to do some crazy analytical work just to get a 19%. So these guys are just talking, in my opinion. Like if you measure it, you said like, don't overthink this. I would say, well, just think about it a little bit. Let's look at some data. I don't think these guys are looking at data at all. Right. It's just like this eyeball test. I mean, it was pouring down rain. Yeah. And I don't mean pouring down, lightly. Like, what are you talking about? Like, with his best wide receiver, the best wide receiver arguably in the league, got injured. Like, that's just no big deal. So the slander is wild to me.
Yeah.
One of the best offensive minds in the world in the offseason said, this guy got his arm torn off. And they're like, yeah, he's our quarterback. Like they literally could have gone and gotten a quarterback.
Right.
Why would they have not done it if he's so bad?
And why would they give away their quarterback, right, to Dallas if like this guy's, yeah. So
and Jimmy G, they didn't re-sign Jimmy G. They let him leave. Like they went and got Sam Darnold specifically as a backup.
Right.
So one other, I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying here. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to analytically or even mental model otherwise want to back the Lions here, other than the fact that they are a team of destiny, if you will. America's team, you know, maybe there's a new America's team and, people want to really root for the underdog this time. But, another thing, like as far as game state and script goes, like that I was looking at it today, and of course there doesn't appear to be any value on the board anywhere, but the Lions being this subpar secondary and being we talked about it for multiple weeks, pass funnel team. Baker Mayfield chopped him up for almost 350 yards. Matt Stafford, similar. What?
Benny Hanna. I mean, chopped him up.
Benny Hanna, yeah. Benny fucking Hanna, yeah. So looking at some of the sims for props again, like there's no value anywhere on the board because I think there is some baked in assumptions, if you will, that Brock Purdy and co. But Debo or not, because there's no Debo props on the board at the moment because his status is uncertain. But
that makes it tough to simulate though, because all of his receptions have to go somewhere, and if he does play, they have to go back to him. Now they may not go back to the same rate, but it makes the betting pretty difficult. I ran some sims. I was able to find some value on Kittle. Kittle's over receptions. BetMGM had a plus 110 briefly.
Ooh.
I think he
remember
was
how many receptions?
Over 4.5, I believe. And then if you want to feel real frisky, you could have bought you could get over 5.5 for Ayuk at plus 112, I believe it was, but that was like on the pretty extreme end of his distribution. But again, tough to bet not knowing what's going on with Debo, because no doubt the number of both of those guys' targets and then therefore receptions are going to be highly impacted by Debo in or Debo out.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I get my point in all that saying is if the two guys prior to Purdy can put up the numbers, just the raw numbers that Baker did and Stafford did, two quarterbacks by most accounts are behind him in terms of overall efficiency, behind Purdy, that is, right? Like, what are you realistically expecting him to do? And my answer is, I think you're expecting him to shut some people up this weekend and ball out.
Yeah, that sounds pretty astute to me. The also angle we've seen some analytics communities talk about, like this synergistic effect that happens when offensive linemen go down. When you pair a back, like the drop off of specific certain offensive line positions for their starters versus backup can be really huge in the NFL. But you compare, or you can combine that with a really good front four for San Francisco. Those are sometimes non-linear effects. So, yeah, actually, maybe this is a time to go on, start betting some tails. Like, what is a payout on like under yards for Goff, over one TD, and like 49ers win by 20.5. Like, those seem very correlated to me, even though they kind of aren't. But I do think there's a game state where Purdy throws a shit ton and Jared Goff just can't do anything because of just nonstop pressure.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and just peeking at it real quick, like I mean, again, using Unabated's simulation tools.
Shout out Unabated.
Shout out, brought to you by Unabated. Passing completions, Brock Purdy, there's no value to his over, but for Jared Goff, you can find some nice value if you have points bet under 26.5 completions for the game at actually just over 20% EV, which, take that for what it's worth. That's a pretty high number. But yeah, to that point, to that angle, like, this is not like the Tampa Bay defense is not the Niners defense. I know we mentioned at the start that there's relatively slipping, but still relative to what the Bucs defense is and relative to what the Rams defense is, again, both several steps behind the Niners in terms of overall efficiency on the defensive side of the ball. So yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling to see it, man. I'm struggling to see the light for the Lions, frankly. But hey.
And because they have Ragnow or whatever his name is, he went down, and then I think their center went down too. And I know the one guy I think Ragnow came back in, but he's got a bum knee and a bum
for the Lions,
foot. Yeah. And then the Lions center, I believe, is out. And I'm telling you, like, we've seen some work. It's hard to quantify, but those that do it, like, they swear by, like, it's a huge non-linear effect. Like, that drop off can be huge, especially when you pair that against the matchup of a really good defensive line.
Yeah, and I think I know exactly what you're talking about. There was a I think it was Tage, actually, from something that I saw on something that he posted on his Twitter about the different offensive line combinations specifically for the Lions and what happens or how they're okay. So sorry, it was one of his friends, colleagues. His name's Arjun.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, he pointed out that I'm going to get to it right here. So this was relative to the Chiefs, actually, not the Lions guy being out, but because remember the Chiefs offensive lineman is going to be out, Thuney, the guard. So the Chiefs are okay. I'm just pulling up the stats here. I know this is great. This is great content. Sorry,
great podcasting.
I know.
I'm building the parlay now, so it's good. So we got some big.
Oh, let's go.
Big payoffs.
Live. Yeah. Yeah.
Build it and they will come.
So with the Chiefs and that their starting five combination, including Joe Thuney, that group has played a consensus 72.1% of the overall snaps for the Chiefs offense.
Chiefs or Detroit?
Yeah, this is talking about Chiefs and Thuney, their guard being out.
Oh, okay.
So because I don't think, to your point, I haven't seen that he's officially out, because that guy came back for the Lions. He came back into the game. And
Ragnow did, but I believe it's his center or their guard or something. I think he's out, but I could be wrong. I could be mixing my injury reports.
Right. So when that combination is not together, specifically with Thuney off the field, the EPA over average, the team EPA drops by a relatively significant margin, basically going from 0.05 to basically league average at 0, which is not insignificant according to this analysis. Especially depending on how some of the defensive schemes go for the Ravens. So yeah, I think a similar phenomenon you might see with the Lions if that guy is out, if Ragnow's out, or if the center doesn't play too. And
yeah,
the ability,
sorry,
go ahead. Okay, I was gonna say with Sweat, Chase Young, Bosa, etc., or not Sweat, but yeah, Chase Young and Bosa being able to generate pressures the way that they do, because Goff is not a guy who is light on his feet, great at evading pressure, evading sacks, etc. So they'll be barreling down on him, perhaps.
Yeah. So Frank Ragnow injury report. It says here head, shoulders, knees and toes. No, he has ankle, toe, back, knee, but he is suited up to play. He's no practice, but he says he feels great and he's expected to play. But left guard Jonah Jackson, with the knee injury, he is expected to need surgery, so he is done. Ooh. They are saying he will, or he's expected to miss the game.
Got it. Okay.
That's a big deal. Like same game parlay.
Yeah. All right.
Getting a hold today. These are more difficult to build than I would have thought. Like I can only get 2 legs right now. Jared Goff under 255 yards at San Francisco 20.5 pays plus 492, and that's only 2 legs.
Yeah,
I think you can get asymmetric. I point being here, look into it, guys. I think this could be an asymmetric game, and I think you can make the same argument we're making here for what's going to happen in Baltimore as well, with the same angle. Really, really good defense, specifically defensive line. These drop off at offensive line, like it's a non-linear synergy. In fact, that's what we saw, and why when we saw Patrick Mahomes the most vulnerable was that exact situation. Their right tackle was out, and they had one of the best defensive lines that Tampa Bay did, and they ate all game. And Patrick, who is not light on his feet, he's very good on his feet, or I guess is light on his feet. He still couldn't do anything, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, so just looking up that shout out to PFF, Pro Football Focus. Yeah, they do have Frank Ragnow rated number 1 center in terms of player grades, number 1 center in the league. Jonah Jackson rated 34th out of 78. He is a better than average guard there as well. So to Seth's point, these aren't scrubs, bottom of the barrel in terms of starters. And remember, this is for like minimum snaps and all that stuff. So like you're really comparing the folks who are getting game time reps in and out. And this dude is, he's a legit. So
yeah.
So that drop
something to keep an eye on. Something to keep an eye on for sure. All right. So even though we officially don't have any qualifying model plays for championship weekend here, we were able to cover one of our Ravens play. I'm just kidding, but we were able to cover the Ravens from last week. We officially had them at 8.5. We put this up at least on lives on TikTok, and there was a lot of questions basically surrounding this. But long story short, we went with the more conservative kind of methodology. And we officially gave out -8, or excuse me, we gave it out when it was 8.5. Yeah. Covered with with ease, frankly, after the second half.
Oh,
But
yeah.
hey, games aren't won at halftime. You know, we had people chirping in the comments like, "Oh, fucking
yeah.
8.5 Ravens. I'm sure it looks like a great pick, dumbasses." You know, what do you know?
It was.
I was trying to.
Surprise,
That guy
surprise.
just completely disappeared. Like he deleted everything on the videos. I wanted to find him and tag him into the meme where it's Homer Simpson going back into the bushes, but I can't find this guy. So, I mean,
I
I'm
know,
sure he'll
yeah.
be back until all of a sudden he
They
knows
all will.
he finds a bet that he disagrees with and it wins, and he told us so. And then shout out to us because I know you had it, Kevin, and I nibbled on it. The Packers. Did you get any of the Packers? I'm assuming probably not, Steve. Is you
I did
hard
not.
to,
No.
yeah.
Yeah. I
We ended up-
I did live bet 49ers money line. And I felt that
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
too egregious.
No,
You know,
that was pretty good.
but-
No, that was a good bet. You talked about it on here. I think I know some board members got like a 6.5 for 49ers. I don't think that was a bad bet. I don't. I think the only
Live?
angle there for live was like once Debo goes down, there's kind of a systematic reason or not. There's a systematic change where it's like you can't necessarily trust your number anymore because that's
Sure.
that information is not reflected in that the closing line
Right.
of 10.5. So, but I still don't think it's a crazy bet. Money line even better, obviously cashed, so everybody's happy.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, it was a great weekend. I mean, we didn't officially give it out either because I don't know, Seth, if you use your own kind of I guess I'll call it arbitrary cutoff for when you're looking at pass funnel plays and what type of EV you're looking for in order to make the bet. But I took a couple of nominal plays or a couple of props where there was some nominal EV on some of the Tampa Bay reception
I don't have
props.
Yeah, and they ate. I don't have a
And
cutoff.
they
It's just
cashed.
about
Yeah,
timing. It's just timing. Like
yeah.
if you depending on when you run them, you don't see it, and I think that was what happened. So I didn't end up getting any action on those
Okay.
games. But I mean, those were that game like made me step back and be like, do you actually even need to see EV? Like the pass
Sure.
funnel for them has just been like, I mean, ironically, the only team in games we didn't cover pass funnels was betting on
Bryce Young and the
betting
Panthers.
on Bryce Young and then Goff against the Bears when it was like windy and we weren't sure. And they targeted that tight end like 100 times and he dropped 99 of them. But other than that, those are the only I think like 4 of the losses came from those 2 games. And so like it's like, do you even actually need to see EV on the Sims? Like, it's just such a powerful, and most of those we don't have reason to believe those numbers are adjusted in any way to take that into account. So it's like, all right, like, do you even need to see that? I don't know. It's something I go back and forth because I want to be 49ers. I want to be on like
all of them,
yards, reception. Like,
yeah.
this is like,
You make a good point though. Yeah, you make a good point about the Debo situation. Presumably he's
out
in. No, I'm gonna say presumably he's in though. Okay, I don't think the market is baking that in at the moment. I think
they're baking that he's out. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yes, correct.
I agree.
So if he does play, I don't know how much is he a decoy, because that happened one time because he was on my fantasy team this year, and I remember this astutely. One week he came back from injury, quote unquote, early, if you will, and they basically used him as a decoy. He got like, it was against the Cardinals. I forget what week it was, but he got only like 1 catch, only had 2 targets, ran 12 routes or some BS like that. So who really knows what's going to happen there? So from that standpoint alone, is that enough to offset what you just said about like just who cares about if there's EV? Like just the line sucks, so hammer it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think to that too, because to your point, it's something I go back to. So, and I end up taking Baker over on completions and attempts. So I double dip because I really wasn't sure where that value would lie, and I just both of them,
cash,
they both cash. They both cash. But to that point, about whether Debo's in or not, I don't know how to quantify this, but you look at terms of running back targets, Christian McCaffrey is number 4 in the league. And so in terms of, is there a safety net, even if Debo is out, going back to this whole pass funnel thing, if you can't run with McCaffrey, which I'm not saying you can't because the dude's a beast, right? but there's just something there with the check downs, the slants, the screens we talked about, how these pass funnels can sort of introduce themselves. I'm curious to see, is that really plays into San Francisco's game plan? And plays into San Francisco's passing game plan. And I don't know how to quantify that, but it's something I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah, I think it's tough to bet this. So I agree with the decoy thing, but like, I think if he's going to play, he's healthy enough to play, because the thing is that worries me, or why I believe he's not going to play, is they were not winning that game. Like when he got hurt, it wasn't like, okay, well, we're winning, no problem, I'll just get healthy. It was like, we could lose this game, and he's not in the game. So to me, that means you're probably pretty injured, and it would be pretty weird that you're just okay a week later. So, but it does affect all of the numbers, like no doubt, like just especially targets and receptions, and then the yardage gets a little bit harder. But obviously, those are going to be inflated or deflated depending on the Debo news. So. But I'm with you. Like the only thing that I honestly say hesitant here is that the Lions could lose by so much that they stop passing. Like I'm serious like that. I'm gonna build a same game parlay that's like angling this like demolish.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it's a crate. Like it's going to be a ticket that happens. Maybe it cashes one at every 10, but like I think it's an uncommon game state, but I don't think it's like that crazy game state. Like it's going to get priced like it's a crazy game state, but it's probably more like a 1 in 6 type of game state where just like they get unlimited pressure. Goff can't run. He gets sacked. Unlimited pressure. Goff gets, and then they try to run the ball and like, whatever, maybe they score, once or twice, but like, as far as Goff's numbers and what he can do, it could be a wild time.
Yeah. Okay. So, consensus. It sounds like we are team Super Bowl color logo conspiracy theory here. Niners
baby.
And the Ravens.
Hell yeah, sign me up.
Okay, yeah. I think we got Like I said, we try to talk through it a little bit. Yeah, it's difficult to. Of course, anything is possible. This is still humans doing human things at the end of the day. Yeah. But I think consensus: Niners and Ravens, baby. We hope for multiple reasons that kind of is the case, but okay. Yeah, we'll see. It should be, sounds at least you're sounding like at least one of these games could be blowout potential.
I think so. I think these offensive line injuries are a big deal.
Specifically
with these two teams that they're going up against,
Sure. So we'll see, man. Yeah, we'll see. Championship week will come and go here, and then it'll be Super Bowl 2 weeks into the Super Bowl, which is wild in Vegas, baby. It's gonna be bonkers. Gonna be so excited. I wish someone made a funny post. It was like, oh, how many people are gonna descend upon Vegas for the Super Bowl, ready to bet on all the crazy props, but then come to find out you can't even open a sportsbook app because they're not actually legal. You can't do them in Vegas. You have to go like the actual sports books.
Yeah. They're not legal on the Strip, or they don't work on the Strip. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So people are going to be so disappointed to come to that realization.
We go for March Madness, and every year I'm so disappointed because like you're so used to being able to get down and bet.
Yeah.
And,
just boom.
Like go wait in line for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And your number that you wanted is gone. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Long gone.
So, all right. Well, I think that'll do it for us, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Again, should be a fun weekend of games. We'll be back for the Super Bowl, and to be determined. Still, we'll have a Super Bowl preview episode as well. But either in conjunction or separately to that, we will be, like I said, meeting with and doing an interview with someone that we are pretty well connected in the space, and I think you guys will benefit from hearing the conversation. So, stay tuned for that. Good luck for any bets you guys have, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.